It was on Regent Road, and it was called Seashelt, and it was number 85.
Right.
It was, I think, if you'll find if you look at the adverts, it might well say Seashelt Private Hotel, but they just were referred to locally as boarding houses, weren't they? You know, it sounded a bit, a bit better.
Do you know what inspired your mum and dad to decide to take up a boarding house? Or
I've no idea really. My mother was a very good cook. My father, during the war, had been a conscientious objector, and he worked on the land with German POWs. Whether it was after that he decided he needed a change and they needed to move, I don't know.
Yeah.
But they finished up in Regent Road. But I was born in 43, so you're probably talking late 40s, 50s. She wasn't a bossy landlady. I think she was actually quite popular with most of the people that she dealt with. As I said, she was a very good cook, she was very well organised, and she just got on with people, and they seemed to like her. But she could be quite firm when she needed to be, but it wasn't always, I don't think it was very often necessary. No, but if you've seen the photographs of her, she doesn't look gruff or stern. But she had not had a particularly easy life. My parents were divorced when I was about 8, and she was left with a hotel. So she had to take on running it from there. So of course, in that sort of situation, you've got to be pretty strong-minded, and she was. Yeah. She had to run it on her own.
Yeah. Okay.
With the help of my granddad, who wasn't really much help. I remember one lady vividly who came from Cleckheaton and used to come regularly. Mm-hmm. She had quite a lot from Yorkshire, East Lancashire, Scotland.
Yeah.
Southern Scotland, basically. Yeah. No, I got bits of pocket money. Oh. If you'd done bits of waiting on, of course, sometimes the visitors would give you a tip at the end of the week.
Yeah.
So it was one way of earning a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. We used to get. I remember having free tickets for at least the show on the West End Pier. I think a lot of the landladies got them. They were given, I think, to encourage the landladies to go and look at the shows, and then they could recommend them. Mm. It was just a variety show, but there were a couple called Ernest and Constance, and they were a bit sort of operatic. They used to sing. I can vividly see this lady now dressed in this robe with a rope round her waist, and it was very dramatic. Mm-hmm. Waiting on, helping serve. Yeah. Mainly teas. Yeah. And when it was school holidays, possibly I did a bit more. It was always the shopping, all that sort of. Go down to the greengrocers and get this or whatever. Yeah. So I gave a hand with really whatever I was asked or told to do. Originally, it was full board because that was what people expected in those days. They expected full board and a cup of tea and biscuits at 10 o'clock at night before they went to bed. And it was only quite late on, when people started to have cars, that Mum decided that during, I think it was the last 2 weeks in July and the first in August, she would just offer bed, breakfast and evening meal, because the motorists wanted to be off out, going to the Lake District or whatever. That worked quite successfully. Mm-hmm. So she did that for a while, and for her it meant that she had a little bit of a break in the middle of the day. Yeah. Because prior to that it was just relentless. Some people just went and, a bit like people going to Spanish resorts now, just went and walked and promenaded and all the rest of it, or got the bus up to Heysham, or went down got the bus down to Happy Mount Park or whatever. Yeah. And of course there's a park fairly opposite Regent Road. Well, they all had a sink, which was part of the selling point, that you had hot and cold water in every room, though there were a couple of bathrooms as well. They were fairly basic. I wouldn't have said that the furniture was particularly posh, to use a better word, but
Yeah.
you know, they were neat, they were tidy,
Mhm.
they were comfortable, but they wouldn't pass muster now.
Yeah.
But then people didn't expect it. They
Yeah.
just expected to be comfortable, for it to be clean, and somewhere to base themselves, and then they could go off and enjoy their holiday. But
Yeah.
then people didn't have as much at home either. They weren't coming from very, very comfortable backgrounds. They were working class people, and this was their holiday, their 1 week or their 2 weeks of the year, where they could be by the seaside in the sun, hopefully, and enjoy themselves. And
Yeah.
that was really what it was all about.
Yeah.
I used to be sent out to go and bang the gong. You know, people turned up, and they just expected, you know, if your tea was, say for example, 5 o'clock, people turned up, gong went, and they all trooped in. I can remember making roast dinners. She used to do all the baking. She was very, very good cook. A lot of them just went out to the shows, or possibly went out to the pub, I don't know.
Yeah.
When they came back in, they just chat amongst them. There was a lounge, and the ones who were in would just chat amongst themselves. I felt it was hard work. Some of it she enjoyed, I think. She got along well with people, and I think she did enjoy people. But it was a lot of responsibility for one person. It was unusual, you know, the other people we know on the road, there were 2 of them. So the wife was doing one set of things and the husband was doing another. And at one stage she used to take in workmen who were coming on short-term contracts to do things in the town. But it was just another way of trying to generate a bit of
Supplementing your income, of course.
It was a big job, and it was hard work, which is why she always said to me that 10 years of it was enough. And she did rather more than that. And
Yeah.
did a few years
Yeah.
more than that, and then
Yeah.
she just said no. I think she was very glad to give it up, actually.
Yeah.